You're listening to the SweetLife Entrepreneur Podcast. Simplified strategies to grow your service business and launch a life you love faster. With business mentor and entrepreneur activator, April Beach.
Because people, they always see the end result and they're like, oh, this is so perfect, and that's not real. And how do you pronounce your last name?
It's Rausch.
Rausch, perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Okay, so we're going to dive in, and I'll go back and I'll read your formal bio in the beginning, and then I would love for you just to share your story. This is a lifestyle entrepreneur podcast, so people want to hear, how you got into this and what your life looks like. I mean, the fact that you have this company even, and you're able to travel for a couple weeks, supporting your niece and nephew is a really powerful thing. I don't know if you want to share that, but I just think It's really important for people to see that, really this business model, this design, this is why we're doing these things, and this is why it's important. Kind of toss that over there.
Okay.
Now I kept talking enough to change my time. All right, you guys, I am with Nikki Rausch on this podcast, and I have a good friend, Angie Trueblood, who has been saying that Nikki Rausch has needed to be on the SweetLife Entrepreneur podcast for a while now. And listen, she is actually absolutely right. When I talked to Nikki behind the scenes before we started this recording, we're talking about sales and all of the things that get you guys hung up with sales. And the reality is, as entrepreneurs, you need to know how to sell, but it doesn't have to be that traditional way of the actual traditional sales funnel that maybe you came from in a large corporation, or maybe you come from a sales background. When you move into entrepreneurship, when you have your own company, it's absolutely different. It's completely different. And there are so many different processes to that might feel uncomfortable to you. So Nikki is on the show today, and she's going to guide us through her selling staircase. But it's much more than that. It's the conversations you should be having and the ways that you can feel comfortable about selling and increasing your profit to your clients. So thank you so much for being on the show, Nikki. I absolutely love that you're here. Just take it away and tell everybody a little bit about you, about your story, where you are right now, because that's really special as well.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. I love Angie, and I'm super excited to be here with you today. And I was so looking forward to meeting you. So thank you. And so my background is I did corporate sales for many, many years. And when I left my corporate position, it was really with this idea of there should be something more fulfilling in my life, but I didn't really kind of know what that was. And I really stumbled into this job and this business that I now have, which is teaching entrepreneurs how to sell. And it came from meeting really amazing entrepreneurs that I found pretty early on were struggling with the sales conversation. And because I had that background, it really allowed for me to start helping some of them on the side. And somebody finally pulled me aside one day and was like, why don't you do this as a business? And I actually said to her, that seems dumb. Who would ever pay me to talk about sales? I don't know if anybody can relate to that. The things that sometimes seem really easy to us, we're surprised that people pay money for, right? And so Here I am 5.5 years later, having the time of my life, working with the coolest people ever, and absolutely loving the life that I've designed for myself as a result of having this business of supporting entrepreneurs to bring more revenue into their business, which is the piece that I love. And where I am right now is I am in my hometown. I live in the Seattle area, but I am back in Boise, Idaho, and I'm here because my nieces and nephew just started public school this week for the first time. They've always been in private school and then homeschooled for years. And they were so nervous about starting public school, and they're going into, two of them are in junior high and one is in later in elementary. And they were so nervous that they were like, "And Nikki, you have to be here." And so my significant other, we got an Airbnb and we packed our bags, and we're here for 3 weeks to be here after school when they get home to talk about how's it going, what do you need, all that good stuff. So
that is so special. That's so powerful. And just hearing your story that you have this business, you're doing something that you love, and you can pick up and go to the people that love you and need you is incredibly powerful. And The reason why you can do that is because you are an expert at what you do and you get people amazing results from your coaching and from your services. And so let's talk about some of the objections or the fears that you hear. I know that I hear that entrepreneurs say when they think about approaching a sales process in their business. And we talked about building the funnel. We can talk about building a funnel until we're blue in the face, and we do actually. And we talk about the technology and the lead magnets and the content marketing and all these things. But then what? What are the fears that you hear that entrepreneurs have after they have done all that and the troubles that they're running into?
A lot of those fears stem around the conversation piece. People are like, well, I have this person who has expressed some kind of interest, but I'm not really sure what should I say next, or how many times should I be calling them, or should I send an email? Should I pick up the phone? And because they have that, like, but what if they don't want to hear from me, or what if they're really not interested, or like all this, like, really, it's like your internal critic starts to go crazy in your head about the sales conversation. And so that's the piece that I show up and help people with is people do want to hear from you if you do it in a really authentic way, and you do it in a way that is interesting and useful and beneficial to them. They want to hear from you, and they're happy to hear from you. And we all are experts at what we do. And if you have something that's going to solve somebody's problem or meet their need, in a way, you're doing a disservice by not understanding the selling process, because then they don't get this solution that you can provide. So it's this fear a lot of times of like rejection is always a big one, right? Like, what if they reject me? Which I have a whole kind of philosophy around what sales isn't really rejection. It's more of like a not yet, or maybe it's just not the right client, and that's all okay. It's really information, right? So it's rejection. It's I don't know what to say, or what if I say the wrong thing, or what if I do the wrong thing? Then I'll have, cost myself this business. And then the last thing I would say is sometimes it's this idea of feeling like this one sale is going to make or break my business. So it's all on the line, right? And when it's all on the line, there's so much pressure around that.
Oh my gosh. So many, I'm sure our listeners are like, yep, okay, I felt that. Especially people that all on the line, especially people that are just starting out, and it really does feel like it's all on the line when you're trying to get that first collection of clients and prove that your offer is getting people results. So one of the things, just a little side note that I think needs to be brought up is that we're talking about a process of talking to people. And in the online business space, which we're all in the online business space for a few years, I would say about from, started around 2015, 16, well, a little bit before that too, up until I would say recently, there is this, we dove into automated sales, where, we're launching courses or we're launching offers, and, we sell people through maybe a follow-up email sequence that you send to people after they show interest. You send them a collection of emails, they click the link and they join. One of the things that I just want to point out here, and at the time of this recording, it's the middle of August 2019, and we'll be airing this a bit later, but we're seeing that we are going back to relationship-based selling, and people want that. People are tired of getting a series of emails saying, click here to buy, without ever being able to talk to the person they're buying from. And there is definitely a business model for those smaller passive income type of offers and programs where you don't have to talk to people. But what Nikki's talking about to you guys today is the fact that if you really want to build a lucrative, profitable consulting, coaching, service-based business, information-based business, and you're selling something that could be, it could be a lower price ticket, but especially an offer that is a very valuable offer that gives these amazing results. I want you guys to, if you have fallen into that philosophy that you can sell everything automated on email. I just want you to be aware of the fact of this switch that we're seeing back to old school relationship building. And I'm so excited about it. I couldn't be more excited about it. It's the sales call. It's the business meeting. It's the proposal time. It is the discovery call, the triage call, whatever you want to talk about. So although I know a lot of you guys have automated sales and automated email lists, and we're selling things through automation, and that is absolutely great. We still want you to continue doing that. We're also talking about the importance of getting on the phone with people, and you have to be not afraid to do that if in fact you actually want to have a profitable business. So I know it's a little tangent, but the context in which we're talking about this and what's happening in sales in online entrepreneurship, especially in the service-based business, I think it's important that we point that out. If you aren't aware, we're going back to old school, back to relationships, and we're super excited about it. So what we're talking about today and what you're going to guide us through are all of these questions that people are saying, okay, they've got on my funnel. They've got in my funnel. They, opted into my lead magnet. Oh my gosh, now what? Now I have to talk to them? I don't want to talk to them. I'm not sure what to say to them. How do I get them? How do I even get them on the phone with me in the first place? And what do I do when they get there? So guide us through, your process of all of that, if you could, please.
Sure. So some of this is we're going to jump around a little bit just based on the way that you frame that question. So this might not be necessarily step one in the selling process of the selling staircase. That's okay though. Okay. Because if they've come in the door in some way, they've reached out through your website or they've responded in some way to your email, but they're not like click yes, bye. It's like, I've got some questions, right? If you really want to earn that person's business, be willing to jump on a Zoom call with them or a video call or even a phone call, right? But one of the things that I want to offer is there is a way to set that up to make it really easy to get on the call with them. And so I'm going to give you some specific language for it. So when you send somebody a response back, and let's say somebody sends you a question and they're like, hey, April, I have a question about this, this conference that you've got coming up or whatever it is. And you want to say to them, hey, I'd be happy to answer those questions. Here's the language. What do you think about us setting up a time for a quick chat? In case you like this idea, here are a few possible times. And then you give ranges of time, and you give 3 of them, by the way. So, and I'm going to address the link to your calendar and all this stuff. So give me just a sec here for this one, but give ranges of time. So say Monday, any time between, and even if it's only a half an hour range, I don't care, but use this specific language, any time between, let's say 11 and noon, right? And then you give a second time, same thing. Tuesday, any time between 2 and 4. And then you say, the next kind of line after the 3 times is, of course, you're also welcome to send a time that works for you, and I'll do my best to be available. Or if you have a calendar link, this is where you would put it. You would say, of course, if you prefer to pick a different time, here's a link where you can pick a time that works best for you. And the language here is so crucial because most of the time people say, here are times I'm available. And people don't care when you're available. They only care when they're available, right? And we have to make it really easy for people. So one of the mistakes that people make is oftentimes they'll say, let me know when you're available. But I don't know about you, but I'm never just available. Right? I'm busy. You're busy, right? And your clients are busy too. And so when you give them 3 times and ranges of time, you make it so simple for them to look at their calendar and go, oh, here's a little window of time that I can jump on a call with Nikki or with April or with whoever, right? And get on this call. And now we actually have it scheduled on our calendars so that when you call or they call you, depending on how you work out the logistics, they know what to do and they're ready for that call and they're excited to talk to you. And that already takes some of the pressure out of the sales process because they're so excited to hear from you.
Okay, we could end the pod. That's such a great business training. We could be done. We're done with this episode right there.
That's all you get.
You guys do these things. Put it in your copy, in your notepad, so you can copy and paste it to people that that show interest in meeting with you. No, just kidding. But yes, copy this down and do that. Okay.
And can I offer one more little piece around that?
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the pushbacks that I get sometimes when I offer this tip is people go, oh, I can't leave that much time open in my calendar. I'm not suggesting that you leave those 3 windows of time open in your calendar. And as a matter of fact, oftentimes I will give those 3 ranges of time to everybody in a week. Like sometimes it can get 20 people can get the same time. And if your problem becomes that everybody wants to meet with you at the same time, you now have a good problem.
Yeah.
But most of the time, that's not going to be the case. So those windows of time are going to still work for you. So don't be hesitant to use this tip.
Oh, I love that. Okay, you're absolutely right. Okay, so we have the prospective client on the phone. Now what? What do we do? We're on this phone call, and we talked about this a little bit, you guys, in episode 134, and I shared my 5-step discovery call formula. You know, Nikki's process is similar but different, so I love that we're talking about this because it gives you more opportunities to really dig into what works for you. So, what do you do in that process? You have somebody on the phone. Where do you
So the very first thing you want to do is what I call pre-frame for somebody, what's going to happen on the call. And the reason that you want to pre-frame is 1, it establishes you as the expert. 2, it takes some of the angst out of it for the client, because believe it or not, you might be nervous to be talking to them, but they might also be nervous talking to you. And we've got to create safety so that the rapport is there. So when you pre-frame at the beginning of the call, and a pre-frame is something as simple as saying, thank you so much for taking this time to chat with me today. I have a schedule to talk for about 20 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever the time is. So I have a schedule to talk for about 30 minutes. Does that still work for you? They're probably going to say yes. Now they know how much time you're going to take. That takes some of the air out of the balloon, lets them start breathing again because they're not nervous. And then you say, now, in order to make this call meaningful and productive for you, is it okay if I start with a couple quick questions? Because now you're going to take the lead in this conversation. So you don't want it to just be so tell me your life story, because that could take a really long time. And so when you say, is it okay if I start with a couple quick questions? And most people are going to say yes. They're not going to be like, no, how dare you, right? But if you ask ahead of time, you're pre-framing for them, hey, I'm going to ask you some questions, then they're ready for it, and they're more likely to be candid and open in their question answering process with you. And then my suggestion is that you ask questions that lead people to hiring you. And what I mean by that is oftentimes people get somebody on a call and they start asking them a lot of questions that they actually don't need the answers to until the person hires them. And that is a waste of a discovery call because they haven't committed to hiring you. So for instance, I don't need to know in a discovery call with somebody, do they have a 30-second elevator pitch? That's something I'm going to ask once we work together. Yeah, I want to know that, but I don't need to know that in that call. What I do need to know is what are some of their problems, their struggles. So I only ask questions that are things that I coach and teach around. For instance, I ask, do you know how to create curiosity when you're talking about your business? Because guess what? I teach creating curiosity, right? So Make sure you're asking those right questions.
Okay, so our listeners at this point in time, if you guys are listening to this and you're using this as a business training, as I know most of you guys do, just take a second maybe and pause this as we're going through and just jot down some questions right now that lead to what your solution, just like Nikki just said. So a couple of questions that you could ask on every single discovery call that that you provide that solution for. Okay.
And then next, okay. And then the other thing that I want to caution people from doing, and this might be a little different, and I haven't listened to your episode, so please tell me if I'm going to say anything that's different than what you said. But my suggestion is that you do not coach or give away advice on this call. And the reason I say that is because you're an expert at what you do, whatever it is. And the person would not be on the call with you if they didn't have some type of a need or suspect in some way that you could help them. And because you're an expert, and we'll see if you like this analogy. I've been using this for a while, but I feel like it was meant for you and your listeners. Just what I've learned about you in the last couple months is I always say, if you coach during this call, you know that you're giving them like one grain of sand because you know so much. And behind you is this big, beautiful beach, right? And you have so many things on that beach for them that are going to help them. But if you coach and you give them that one grain of sand, they think that's the beach. And then they don't think they need to hire you. And then they miss out on everything behind you on your big, beautiful beach that is the solution that's really going to make an impact in their life.
I love that. Okay, so truthfully, I always coach to some extent on every single one of my calls. It's like my favorite thing to do is to give all these people this amazing direction. And I always have, and I probably always will. The difference, however, is I point them in the right direction and I give them things to think about and process. And then I say, and this is what I teach you how to do. So it's not necessarily coaching. It's this is my recommended direction for you based on your expertise, your experience, your budget, your profit, and really what you want your life to look like. I recommend you go here. I recommend you do this. A lot of the times it's not with me. I'm not the coach for everybody. So I'll say, hey, I want you to do this. And I do provide that. But there's always a balance of saying, okay, now if you want to actually realize the solution, this is what we provide, and we take you through the steps of getting that. But I do know that there really is my clients, however, really have come to me, and I know our listeners too have struggled with this, where they feel like they need to tell people what to do to prove they know what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what you're talking about here, right? Where you don't want to go through this place where you feel like you're so excited you're on the phone with them. You want to prove to them that you do know what you're doing. You are an expert. And so you want, like you're saying, to give them that one grain of sand to show them. And then they think they're good. So I absolutely 100% hear what you're saying and agree with your viewpoint on that.
And kind of how you even explained it, I agree with that too. Like, it's totally fine to give people the what. It's you want to caution from giving them the how, because the how is the thing that if they don't pay you money for the how, they won't implement. And if they don't implement, nothing changes in their life. And people rarely pay for things they get for free.
Yeah. Which makes me wonder, why are we doing this podcast? No, but you're totally right. Absolutely 100%. Okay, so no coaching on this call and going through the process. Now, what's the next step that you take people through during this discovery call?
So now at this point, once I have established that because the other kind of purpose behind a discovery call is to discern, is this a potential client or not? Because sometimes they might want to work with you, but you might not want to work with them, right? Or they might just not be that ideal client. Maybe they're not ready for you, which was kind of the examples that you just gave too, right? Like, you'll point them in another direction, which is totally fine. My suggestion is that you want to get that information as quickly as possible, because none of us have time to waste, right, during the day. And so we want to get that clearly. But let's say that in this case, they are an ideal client. So the next step is you want to move to the next step in the process, which is what I call step 4, which is the proposal. And the way that you get to the proposal is by inviting them to that piece. So I always say, invite people to the next step. That's how you get clients to move. So for instance, I might say, based on everything we've talked about so far, I do see a couple key areas of places that we could work together. Are you interested in finding out what those, like how that working together, what that might look like for you? That's me asking them, because there's no point in going into like, so based on everything you've said, here's all the ways that we could work together, and here's what I charge, and then blah, blah, blah. And now I call that word vomiting on people.
Yeah.
And you can overwhelm them. So if you pause, ask for permission to propose the next solution, then they're ready. It's almost like it gives them a amount of time to shift their brain and go, okay, now we're going into what are the ways that we work together. And then if you have one clear way, right, that is the solution, I always say recommend what you know the client needs, not what you think the client can afford. And this is a mistake that entrepreneurs sometimes make, is that we project onto our client, like our contacts, our prospects, our clients, what we think they can afford. And we're trying to like save them money or all of these things that's not your job. Your job is to recommend what you know they need, clearly lay it out for them in a proposal and say, you know, based on, you know, what we've talked about, my recommendation for you would be my VIP program. Here's what's in the VIP program. And then you issue another invitation. Does that sound like something you'd be interested in? And then you wait and you let them respond. So this is the be careful, don't sell past the close. So once you've issued that invitation, you have to, I call it zip it, like put your lips together and wait and let them respond. Because if they're like, yeah, I don't think this is right for me. Okay, now I need to do something different. But if they're like, yeah, that sounds great. Good. Should we go ahead and get you signed up for that today? Yes. So now I'm really asking yes or no questions. Like, are you ready to move forward or not? In a nice way. But we've got to help people make decisions in the selling process. And one of the ways that we help them make decisions is by asking clear questions.
That is so important. And I've actually never heard it explained like that before. I really appreciate that you said that. And cleaning up the end. So the beginning of a lot of sales conversations are clean, you know, and organized. And then the end, it's like, okay, here you go. Here's 5 different things you can do. And you, like you were saying, you kind of vomit it all over them and then hope that they pick one. So I love that you said that, because that makes so much sense. Okay, so let's say somebody says, wow, this is awesome. We're going to kind of take the path here with this business training that, let's say they don't sign up right. If they do sign up right then, awesome, you've done a great job, close the deal, you're good. Let's take the other path where somebody's like, you know what, I need to talk to my husband, or I need to, wait until my next paycheck comes in if they're launching a business, or, whatever this is. What happens next? What do you recommend somebody does after this point in time on this particular call?
So if somebody says to me, I need to talk to my husband, my response is always, great. When do you think you'll have that conversation? And let's go ahead and schedule a circle back call now. That way I can answer any additional questions that come up for you. And we can decide at that point we're either working together or we're not.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then I suggest a time. I would say, how about Thursday? I want to see when are they going to have that call? Well, he'll be home later tonight, or, I'll talk to him in 2 days, whatever it is. Great. So if he's going to talk to him in 2 days, then great. So should we talk on Thursday? How's your Thursday look? Should we get it on our calendars, to talk at 10? Gotcha. Get a scheduled time to talk, because if you don't, what happens is you just get added to people's to-do list. My to-do list is to talk to my husband, think about it, and then make a decision. But I don't know about you, but do you ever get your to-do list completely done?
No.
Most of us, I think I heard somewhere that most people die with their to-do list, with a to-do thing still on their to-do list, right? Never. So we've got to get off their to-do list. And one of the ways to get off somebody's to-do list is to be on their calendar.
Okay.
Because now they don't have to spend time thinking about, am I going to think about it?
Right. Okay. So let's go ahead now at this point in time and say, great, somebody, we get back on this call. We're back on the follow-up call. Where do we start with that little follow-up call? Where does that follow-up call? It's not the same length of sales call. We're not going to go through all that again. What is the quick agenda of that follow-up circle back call? That you call them circle back calls, right?
I do call them circle back calls. So you're still going to pre-frame at the beginning. You're going to say, now the purpose of this call is to check in with you, make sure you got a chance to talk to your husband, see what questions come to mind, and then make decisions about next steps for us. So let me check in with you. What questions have come to mind since we last talked? And then I'm going to let them ask their question, and I'm going to say, great. So are you ready to go ahead and take that next step and work together? And then I'm going to wait. Get the yes, hopefully get the yes. And if it's the well, I'm not quite ready yet, this is a place where I would say you need to make a decision that's right for you and your business. I personally do not believe in chasing clients. I always say, if you chase a client, they turn into a toddler. And if you say to a toddler, like, I'm going to chase you, they don't even know what the game is, but they take off running, right? So don't chase clients. I'll stay in it as long as they stay in it with me. If they say, no, Nikki, I really do want to work with you, but I need to wait until the fall or whatever. Great. Let's schedule a time to chat now in the fall. Like, would you like to schedule that in September or October? Yeah. Right? Like, I'm going to get on their calendar again. Right. And if they say, no, I'll let you know, then and I mean this in like the nicest way, but I bless and release. Yeah. I go, great. You are welcome to reach out to me. I would love to earn your business when you're ready. I'll wait to hear from you, because I'm not going to like chase people.
Right. Love that. Next is really what it is. Yes. There are a lot of people, and I appreciate what you said too. There is this sense sometimes of desperation that I really need to land this client. But what makes you attractive and powerful as the leader that you're called to be in your business is the fact that you can say, great, I know that I have this amazing solution for you. I know it will provide a solution. If you don't want it, okay. That's yours. And just that confidence alone, and just the way you just said that right there here on the interview, and the way you just said that, it's like, oh, wow, yes, we really want to work with you because you are so confident in your ability to get us results, and you're not chasing me down, and I know you have other people that are waiting to work with you. So I absolutely love that. Nikki, thank you so much for your time today on the podcast. I'm so excited to get you on here. And there are tons of ways people can work with you, but you have given a really great gift, and I appreciate this. Is really generous, this gift that you created for our listeners, and it's an ebook. And this ebook walks them through this process that you have shared today, and I'm sure so much more of your strategy and your secret method on actually closing that sale. And we really appreciate that. And you guys are going to be able to find that ebook in the show notes for this episode. And Nikki, where can people find you online? Tell us about your business and where people can connect with you directly. Social media, what's your favorite platform to hang out on, and where can people build a relationship with you?
Well, you can definitely find me on my website, which is yoursalesmaven.com. And probably the platform I'm on the most is Facebook. So you can find me on Facebook, Nikki Rausch. You can find Your Sales Maven on Facebook as well. And I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn. I'm not a big Twitter person, but Instagram and LinkedIn are kind of the other two that I tend to like dabble in a little.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time and your expertise and being on here and walking all of our listeners through this business training. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.